This is test number 3. In this one I'm gonna test both circuits, the battery charger and the DC to DC converter. The battery, or I'm sorry, the solar panel is coming from the DC voltage, so it's about 19 volts. Is converting the battery charger from 19 to 12 volts, and then from 12 volts I'm gonna convert to 20 volts. So here I have in the oscilloscope, the yellow line is the voltage at the output of the converter, of the battery charger. This case is 13.2 volts, and the blue line is the output at the DC converter, from 12 volts to 20 volts. That is about 20 volts, 20.2 volts. For the DC to DC converter, I added a fan, cooling fan, and that's why the input current in this circuit is 0.32 amperes, because it's consuming energy. The fan, most of the energy is consumed by the fan. This was the additional circuit I created. This worked with 5 volts. So now I'm going to connect a load. The output doesn't have any load, so that's why the current output is 0. The first load I'm going to use is 1 kilo ohms. If I connect 1 kilo ohms, the current in the output changes to 0.01, and the voltage and currents remains almost the same in the input, and the voltages input and output remains all the same. Now I'm going to change to a lower load. In this case I'm going to use 200 ohms. For 200 ohms, still the voltage in the inputs remains 13 volts almost. The output 20 volts, but the current in the input raises a little bit, and also the current in the output raises a little bit. Now I'm going to go for a higher current, lower load. This load was going to be 50 ohms. For 50 ohms, now the voltage changes a little bit. In the input is still 12, the output voltage is 20, still 20, but the current in the input raised to 1 ampere, and the current in the output to 0.38 amperes. Now I'm going to use a different load. This is 20 ohms. It's lower than that one. That was 50 ohms. This is 20 ohms. See now what happens with 20 ohms. Now the voltage in the input lowers a little bit to 11.2. The output current remains in 20. The input current goes to 2.4 amperes, and the output current goes to 0.92 amperes. Now I'm going to go to a lower load. This load this time was going to be 5 ohms. For 5 ohms, the output goes lower than 20, goes to 14, but the voltage input is 11.7. See, the current in the input here is 5 amperes, and here is 2.33, but it doesn't go to 20. is extreme load for the circuit like that. Um, it's probably because the DC input from the system is not really a good source. Probably the next test I'm gonna try is with a battery car. See if with a battery car this can keep the 20 volts for probably I don't know 4 or 5 amperes. So this finishes with the third test with the two systems combined. Thanks.